Turn on all my lights. This is Nicki Sun from TechNicki speaking, here with a gear recommendation. A wireless microphone system that not only plugs into your camera, but also to your phone and computer. What do you think?
That's dope!
You're zooming in on me. And at the same time, I have no director or cameraman.
Right now, you're like Asian Daenerys in my mind.
I've always been the mother of cameras.
I love technology. When other women see us in front of the camera, they're inspired to do it too.
This has been Nicki Sun with Gals and Gear at NAB Show Live.
Nicki's an amazing entrepreneur slash content creator slash female director slash cinematographer slash Asian ambassador.
She's talking about choosing the right camera for the job.
Woo!
Definitely. She's amazing.
That was it for this episode of TechNicki Speaking. I'll see you in the next video. Bye! Hey, hello, everybody. I just want to make sure it works. Welcome back to another episode of TechNicki Speaking by Nicki Sun. I'm your host, Nicki Sun, and today has been just an incredible launch day. I don't know if you've been following us on social media, but we have officially, I and two other queens, Quincy and Jessie, have launched our very first podcast called Messy, Sexy Me. And we would love for you to tune in, follow, subscribe, give us a 5-star rating on all the podcast platforms. I'm a little frazzled because I literally just got back driving from Las Vegas like 10 minutes ago, and at the same time we launched our podcast at 6 p.m. and I have my live show every Tuesday, as you know, at 7 p.m. on Tuesday. So it's been quite a frantic last a couple of hours in the car, just making sure everything is launched smooth and perfect. But the beautiful thing about Messy Sexy Me is we wanted to create a space that would allow us, give us the space, give us everything and the opportunity to be our messy, imperfect selves, to talk about all things from relationships and being a boss and an entrepreneur to working out gear and technology, which I feel like I come in handy in that area, and also talk about dating and love lives and relationships. And I don't get to talk about this stuff often, so I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little bit nervous because it is a different unfiltered side of myself and our other two queens, Jessie and Quincy, that you don't get to see very often. So I am very, very, very excited to be back. I'm so happy. We are all systems a go. I believe we are live on Facebook as well as YouTube. Thank you, Brian, for checking in and leaving a comment on YouTube, so I know that it's working, and on Facebook as well as Amazon live stream. So for those of you who are new to this channel, new to my show, it's called TechNicki Speaking. It's a play off of the word and a pun on my name, because you know I love a good dad joke, of technically speaking. I talk about tech education on this show for an hour every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and we just talk about things to help you level up your game, level up your content creation skills. I do want to give a shout out because I do have my amazing tech film, Amazon Live, YouTube, Facebook family in the chat. So hello, shout out to Brian. Hello, Vlad. Thank you so much. Vlad said he's going to give it a listen after the show on your way home, our podcast that just launched. Thank you so much, Vladimir. Hello, Marissa. It's so good to see you. Oh, no worries. She says, what is the topic? I tuned in late. Well, guess what? I just created the topic literally 10 minutes ago, and that's probably why you don't know, but welcome. Again, we launched, me and two other badass queens, Quincy and Jessie, launched our very first podcast. It is also my very first podcast today at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So I will let you know, I did have time to create overlays. So if you all wouldn't mind, this is our Instagram page and the link to our podcast, where it will be listed everywhere, everything, everywhere, all at once. This will be listed everywhere in the link in our bio on Instagram. We also have our website, which is literally messysexyme.com. The fact that this name hasn't been swooped up really was like, I think it was meant to be our messy, sexy selves. So because we launched our podcast, because it's my first time launching a podcast, because we've been in development, I did want to do a special Amazon live show specifically on the podcasting gear that I used. And I get asked so many times, what podcast gear do you use? What mics would you recommend? Again, this show is very much trial and error, as well as I have the opportunity to be sent a lot of products to review it and really give my honest feedback. So if you're new to this channel, make sure you hit follow on YouTube, Facebook, as well as Amazon Live. There is a follow button on the bottom right corner of your screen. Also, smash that star button. It lets everybody else who is randomly browsing over on Amazon that this is a live stream worth watching. So I really would love for you to help smash that star button, give it a follow, share it with everybody that you know. I feel like everybody and their grandmother has a podcast now. So if everybody can share a podcast, you can definitely share this page, because I hope to share insight every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time about all things gear related and tech related. So far, are we sounding good? Just let me know. I know in the past it's been a little weird on being able to stream everywhere all at once, but it seems like we are good so far. Hello, Richard. It's good to see you. Oh my goodness. I see Richard's name popping in the chat. Oh my God. Let me just make sure I put this on full screen. Amazing, amazing, amazing. So I'm just going to jump right into it. It's super exciting. As well, besides Messy Sexy Me, you can also follow my personal my tech Instagram. As you know, there's so many Instagram pages for everything, and because I have a different personality outside of my tech, if you just want to see all the tech stuff, this is my Instagram to find all the tech stuff. But if you want to do more personal stuff, like I literally have to give a shout out to my bestie Angelica, who is now an Angelica Panos, because I was just at my friend's wedding. So shout out to Tyler Panos and Angelica now Panos for tying the knot this weekend and bringing so many amazing friends and people together. I was just surrounded by so much love. And you know, when you're at weddings, you capture content, and when you're in podcasts, you capture audio. So between all the areas in which I capture content, create content, I want to share that with you. So hopefully you give this a follow. So thank you so much for tuning in. I will put all the information about where to find me later on, but let's get started. So I'm going to take this down. All right. So if you want to know what the quality of this next group of items that I'm going to talk about is, you have to listen to our podcast in order to hear the quality. So this was a really great way to launch a podcast and do a show the same day about it. So I try to be as meta as possible. So let's talk about podcasting gear when we've just launched a podcast, Messy Sexy Me. I want to give a huge shout out, first of all, to my friends over at Tascam. For those of you who don't know, in the wedding industry, this is actually how it ties together. I was actually recording my brother's surprise engagement long time ago, and I needed the smallest PCM or portable microphone device possible. And the great thing about PCMs is that you can put a AAA battery, records up to 10 hours directly to the device, so you don't have to worry about it syncing to the camera or being within reach. The audio will literally just record on your body, and you will have to sync it in post later. So nowadays, you know, with the Ceremonic, this one, I can go live as I go with my audio, so I don't need to sync it in post. It's a wireless transmission. This is why I'm able to turn around and you can still hear my audio, because my audio is being recorded here. PCM, however, for the Tascam, the DR10L specifically, was my first, actually, let me show you. It was my first lavalier microphone that I absolutely loved. If I can find it. I have my gear like just spread out everywhere. Hopefully it's this one. Yes, I found one. So this is the DR10L, one of my absolute favorite first Tascam items. Actually, the first piece of gear I ever purchased by myself. Nowadays, I get a lot of gear sent to me, and I really go through like a formal reviewing process before I start recommending products. But this was the first one I bought with my own hard-earned money, and it was worth every penny, because this actually kicked off my genuine love for products and sharing products and doing reviews and just getting high quality content. So I should have put the DR10L in my carousel. I'm not quite sure if it's too late to do that, but this is a DR10L. As you can see, it's very, very tiny. There's a little clip. You can take out the AAA battery, and then it comes with a really solid lavalier microphone that goes in here, and you can swivel it. So it's pretty solid. This is actually a wedding standard. They now have it in white and black. You know, I have to really try and find and add these products here. Let me add, ooh, I can add products, yay. Okay, let me find this, my filmmaking gear. Hopefully I have it in my filmmaking gear playlist so I can just add it very quickly. But yes, I do have it. Okay, cool. I added it to my stream. So let me see if I can hop back in it and return a live stream. Oh, this is so cool. I've never actually added gear or another item to my carousel while I did it live. So yay, I got it back on the stream. So I'm able to talk about it, and you can actually click on it so you can get more information. So this is the Tascam DR10L. It started my love affair with Tascam products because it's just high quality products. The best thing and the greatest thing about Tascam, especially all their interfaces, are pretty much the same in terms of the menu, the interface, right? So the cool thing is you can set it to dual recording, which records 2 tracks at the same time. So one can be your safety and one is another recorded at a higher decibel. So you get 2 tracks. So if you're peaking on one, for instance, you have a safety track that records at a higher or lower decibel. So you have 2 tracks to play with. And when it records to a micro SD card, when you like pop it off of your computer, you get 2 different audio files. So I love that safety feature just in case, you know, because some of us don't have double audio sometimes as much as I always recommend to have 2 sources of audio, because audio truly is more critical than video. Again, you will watch a crappy video, but a lot of people will not sit through crappy audio. So I've been a fan of the Tascam DR10L for quite some time. But I will say I posted it in my pocket. Look how small that is. And usually you can fit this like and hide it on people, right? So a lot of the times people will buy these, creators will buy these to put on the groomsmen, or they'll get the white one to put on the bride. Shout out to my other bride friend who I saw this weekend, Abby Isidro, or Abby Hamilton now, should I say. There was a white one and I actually got to put it up her dress, and I was talking to the filmmakers and they were like, do you know how to put this on? I'm like, oh, what audio file is it? He's like, I don't know, it's this one. I'm like, oh, is that the Tascam DR10L? I sounded like such a nerd. But sometimes when I go to weddings, a lot of videographers and content creators or, you know, cinematographers are very surprised to know that I know my stuff. So just saying that it's not only me that uses this, it's like industry standard. These are great if you want to capture audio during a wedding or a surprise engagement or a surprise proposal, the same way that I got it. So that started my love affair with Tascam. So now, flash forward and fast forward to like, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years later. I'm trying to figure out how long my brother and, what was it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years later, we decided to launch a podcast. And when I was scoping around for podcast gear, I wanted something that had an all-inclusive package. And during this time in the past 5 years, I really hadn't thought about starting a podcast because I'm a very visual person, more so because representation matters to me. So in order to see more representation on the screen, like people like myself, it has to be visual, right? So I focus very much on video, although I've been asked several times, when are you starting a podcast? And it just really was never my thing. But now, with everybody starting a podcast, especially during the pandemic or the panorama, I figured it was a good time to really sit down and learn. And what better way to learn than doing one yourself and doing it with 2 other incredible women, with the idea that none of us knew how to start a podcast, and with a little bit of finagling and a little bit of research and help from my friends over at Tascam, we were able to launch our first podcast, Messy Sexy Me, today at 6 p.m. So I hope you really do tune in right after you listen to this live stream so you can really hear not only the quality of the gear that we use, which is the Tascam Mixcast 4, but just to hear what we have to say in regards to everything from entrepreneurship, starting your own business, relationships, dating, romantic sides, just everything. We have so much to talk about and so much to share, in addition to mental health awareness and things to really help you and hopefully help you and inspire you to get you through your everyday life and hopefully be inspired by the stories of learning and growth that we all individually have experienced to get to the point where we feel like we're ready to launch this podcast. And whether you're ready or not, here I come with some podcast gear tips for you. First of all, really quickly, I want to say, give a little shout out to all the other folks too. Hello from Facebook. I love it. I'm using my YOLO box to like consolidate all the comments right now. Hello to Buena Rodriguez, hola. Talino Brito, hola too. And wow, I got a lot of folks talking and speaking to me in Spanish right now. And then Portuguese. Very cool. Anderson Silva, hello, hello, hello on Facebook. Nikki, what's up? Hi, sis. Richard, hello. He says, love the Messy Sexy Me, the name. Yes, I wanted to give us permission to be messy. Our tagline is literally, don't tune in if you're perfect. So if you think you're perfect, obviously don't tune in. And we want to share all the complicated, messy sides about life and ourselves and embrace that. And, you know, with social media being so perfect sometimes, or feeling that we have to be perfect, we really want to crush that stereotype or that notion that you have to be perfect in order to exist in this world. And we want to make it okay to talk about topics that are normally taboo in our industry or even as women. So we hope it's a podcast for everybody, and I hope everybody can learn from our experiences. I will say our very first episode outside of the intro. So episode 1 is our 5-minute intro. So it's a very short intro, but it really does break down what our podcast, Messy Sexy Me, is about and who we are as individuals, how the name came about. But episode 2 is our first meaty episode, and we're talking about what we find attractive or sexy in a man. So again, very, very different from what you're used to hearing to me. So I'm a little nervous, I'm a little anxious, but I'm also excited to share a different side of my life with you and to show that learning the tech part can be incredibly sexy as well. All right, so here we go. Shout out to our friends over at Tascam. The first thing that I wanted to share with you is the exact setup that we utilize to capture and create and record this podcast. What's up, Gwen? Hello, Johnny. Nice to see you in the chat. It's so great. Rome. Hello, sis. Good to see you live again. Thank you, Rome. Yes. All right. For those of you who are tuning in, just hit the follow button, smash that star button. We're talking about the podcast gear since we just launched the podcast, Messy Sexy Me, literally an hour before we went live here. So the first thing that we utilize is the Tascam Mixcast 4. So in researching podcasting gear, I wanted to find something that was all-encompassing. Obviously, there are different versions of this. This is the bundle pack, and I will say there is a value pack going on right now because we definitely did not get that at that price. But there are different versions. So we got the 4 headphones, 4 mic, and the Mixcast 4 version online on the Amazon. What Tascam did, as my friends, is they basically sponsored us this gear and in addition swapped out a couple of the headphones in particular and sent us the TM90 arms as well, just so we can have it as well. So while I don't have the Tascam Mixcast 4 here because we actually record this at one of my other queens' houses, because there's just obviously like just no space for us to record a podcast here. We literally have our place decked out with podcast gear over there. This is what we utilize. So with these bundles, the Mixcast 4, not only is it a all-in-one, you have up to 4 channels. You can input 4 microphones, 4 headphones, And also they have sound effects. You can hook it up to your computer to update the firmware. It's colorful lighting. You can record straight to your SD card or also connect it to your computer and also monitor it from your computer as well. However, there are audio meters on the Mixcast 4 that you can see. So when you're peaking, you know exactly when you're like in the red, pull back, and being able to hear yourself is so great. And I will say, like, once we got the hang of adjusting the audio levels and the audio input levels, I also want to shout out my friend YJ for coming over and just monitoring our first session in which we recorded like 3 hours, like 3 episodes back to back. And beyond figuring out myself the first episode, it was really cool to watch fellow sound engineers and producers work. So it was really cool. It's definitely like a beautiful team effort, and I'm just really excited to share the tech part of it because that's the role that I lovingly play and I enjoy doing. So if you're interested in starting a podcast, this is the exact gear that our girls and I at Messy Sexy Me podcast used. So this is the Tascam Mixcast 4. Obviously, you can also, beyond getting the 4-pack bundle, they have a 2-pack bundle and a 1-pack bundle. So I will say the Tascam Mixcast 4 might be an overkill if you're just doing like one and it's just like you as an individual, because this really is an all-encompassing podcast station. Like, this is all you need in order to start a podcast. Like, they give you everything. So I love that Tascam gives you an option, so you don't have to guess about piecing things together. So if you're just starting out and you want quality sounding gear, you want to start a podcast or even record other things beyond a podcast, like quality audio, if you want to use like other programs to get that quality audio, anything with audio, this is great. Even with Zooms, you can do that. But if it's for one person, it might be an overkill, I don't know, but having all the additional inputs and outputs, I find extremely amazing. So you can get this bundle when you click on the link in the carousel below. You can change it to 1, 2, or 4. We got the 4. Now, if you want to just purchase things a la carte, I have this one, Tascam Mixcast 4. So if you want to just get the unit by itself, no microphones, no headphones included, you definitely can do that as well. Oh, I want to give a shout out, Abby Cedro, go Cisco. Shout out to Abby. We were just together in Vegas celebrating our best friend's wedding, and I literally got back 10 minutes before this stream. And it was in between launching our podcast, Messy Sexy Me, at 6 p.m. and being live and choosing a topic and creating links for this live show, because I do a live show every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Thank you so much, my love. Okay, so, but what I do have, because the Tascam Mixcast 4 is not in my possession, what I do have are the other connectors, because we're 3 girls, but we got the 4th because we do plan on inviting amazing, special, interesting guests on our show. So I want to go over some of the things that we utilize to connect to the Tascam 4. And also, you don't need the Tascam 4, the Tascam Mixcast 4, in order to use any of these. Like, these are standard, professional, high-quality microphones that you can utilize with anything that takes, XLR cord or the same input. So let's talk about the Tascam dynamic microphone that we use. If you wanted to get it a la carte, this is what it will look like. I figure we just do all the live unboxings here because we've done all the unboxings in a really cool video that should be coming out soon. But this is the Tascam TM70 dynamic microphone, and these are the exact microphones that we use for our podcast, Messy Sexy Me. And we're just gonna open it. I'm just gonna show you what comes inside of it. I am also going to, let me move. The cool thing is, if you were here last week with me, you notice that I have wireless keyboards now. So now I can just move my keyboard to the side instead of like having all these cords flail everywhere. Let me move my thing. And what is this? This is this, and this is that. Cool. So I'm going to show you what this is right here. And I'm doing this because I actually have an overhead camera that I'm going to switch to right now. Okay, so let me get this in focus right here. All right, so as you can see, this is the Tascam TM70. And you know what, because I want to see you all, let me do add a video source. Let's do picture in picture. We'll do that as the main screen, and then me as the smaller screen. So I'm gonna do that and then done. So now, here we go. Now you can see me and see the product at the same time. So we're gonna do this as well. Alrighty. Okay, so this is the Tascam TM70, the same exact microphones that we use for our podcast, Messy Sexy Me. I'm just gonna do an unboxing. So what you do get in the package is an XLR to XLR cable. So you have your male and you have your female outlets. So there you go. And it's probably about 3 feet. So it's like enough to like stay on the table, right? Then we have the microphone holder. And let me do this so you can see it. Yep, it's like that. So it will bend as you attach this part to the tripod. And then we have the microphone. The beautiful stunner, the Tascam TM70. Okay. And then we have this tripod stand. So I'm going to show you how we assemble it for ours, just so you know. Alrighty, so I'm going to put this away because this is all that comes in the box. And you know what? I am going to lay it down on here just so I protect it. Right here. There we go. I'm going to protect that right there. All right, cool. So what we do, fam, is I essentially put it through here. Okay, so I'm gonna do it like this. I squeezed it through like that, like so. And you know, obviously you can move it around to make it as pretty or as you want. Now, this is a standard. This is like 5/8 or no, 3/8. So you'll be able to put this on top of microphone stands. You can take off the microphone stand if you want to, and all that. And then, but this that comes with it, it actually is a tripod. So you're actually able to put it on your desk when you spread it out like that. So it's cool because normally you'll have to like wait for the stand to come in to like really get it started, but you don't have to. It comes with everything that you need. So again, if you purchase the bundle, you get all the microphones that you request plus all the gear that you would need. You wouldn't need to purchase anything extra, which is what I love about it. But if you want to just get the microphone by itself, it comes like this. And okay, so silly me, when I was first looking at this, I thought it was gonna go like this, and it kept tilting over, right? So I'm like, why does it keep tilting over? That's like not really good that it's doing that, but it's not meant to do that. It's meant to do that. Okay, so I'm gonna show it right here. It's meant to be like this. So this is what this looks like. Ooh, isn't that super sexy? Yeah, so when it comes in the box, it usually comes out like this. So if you're trying to stand it up on the desk and it flips over, that is why. It's not supposed to be like this on your desk, okay? So we're gonna go like this. And then obviously this is where the XLR input goes, right? So I'm gonna put this down. And then I'm gonna just untie this because why not? This is where I get to show you all the parts that come with the TM70. Okay. All right, then you have this XLR cord, right? And so if I had the Mixcast 4 in front of me, the input, the male input would go behind the back of the mixer board on the Mixcast 4, and this goes into the microphone. All righty. Oops, sorry, I did that the wrong way. I apologize. I meant this one. So the male input, okay, here we go. So there are 3 prongs here, and then there's 3 prongs here. So you just want to make sure they line up. You hear that click, that ever so satisfying click for ASMR. All right, and this goes into the back of whatever you have, your microphone 1, 2, 3, 4. We leveled it. So in podcasts, I would say it's very important to label your wires and your cords, especially your headphones, because germs, and it's like you want to be able to wear the same headphone and also have the same recording levels. Like I know between me, Quincy, and Jesse, we all have different variations of how we speak. So, for instance, if I speak very loud, if I'm this close to the mic, I would want to lower the input recording levels so that way I'm not blasting and peaking. But for instance, like Quincy, sometimes she speaks a little softer, so I would raise the audio input gain when I am recording her. So it's really beneficial if you stay the same level. So I'm always on mic 1, Jesse's always on mic 2. No, Quincy's always on mic 2 and Jesse's always on mic 3. That way, when you are recording your podcast and you're listening at the same time, if you know you're laughing or about to be very loud, you know exactly which channel to lower or raise when the time comes. And that way you're not like fumbling and getting all frantic about, oh no, we're peaking, who's peaking? We gotta lower everything. So being able to have a designated channel and mic per person when you're doing any podcast allows us to have at least a very nice starting foundation when we start recording our podcast. So I'm pretty sure that makes sense, but I just want to explain it for those of us who are new to podcasting, because I was new to podcasting and these were little things that I thought would be easy to figure out, and now I'm just learning more tips and tricks as I go along. So really, really love being able to help my fellow podcasters out there as well. Nikki also says, ooh, that is a very nice mic, and use painter's tape to label the cords. Yes, or you can even get those elastic rubber bands that are colored to do that as well. Gaff tape is also very expensive, but we utilize that in standard filmmaking as well, so painter tape can definitely work. Or sometimes, if you don't mind writing on your gear, which I don't sometimes, especially if it's pretty, I'll get a gold or silver Sharpie or copper colored Sharpie and I'll write it. I also just purchased, I finally opened my label machine maker as well, so I'll print out labels and I'll cut it and like paste it on here. So I actually just got a label machine, so that's probably what I'll have to do with the ladies and I during our podcast, is to label it like that. So far we just added Sharpie names to the bags and stuff like that. So this is the microphone that I just showed you. So if you're interested in getting or looking for a quality mic and you already have a mixing board or also like input for XLR, this is a really, really great sounding microphone, the Tascam TM70, the one that I've clicked on in my carousel below. Oh my gosh, I was not clicking that the entire time. I'm so sorry. I'm gonna have to like re-upload that. But this was the Tascam dynamic microphone TM70, the exact one that comes in the bundle. So again, if you don't want to purchase the bundle that comes already with everything that you need, including the microphone, the mixing board, the headphones, then this is the one you would want if you just want the microphone and you just want one microphone. Maybe you don't need 4, maybe you don't need 2, maybe you just need 1. So this is a really great microphone, and if you want to hear it in action, again, we just launched, for those of you who are just tuning in, we just launched our first podcast, Messy Sexy Me. Again, here is the Instagram for that, so please do follow us. Our link to all the episodes are going to be in our bio as such, or also on messysexyme.com. So if you want to actually hear the quality of the audio, definitely this is what I'm here for. So we launched a podcast and figuring things out, and for the first time, for those of us who are first timers in doing a podcast, that was what we were able to produce in terms of sound quality from our first run without even really diving deep into the manual or anything like that. So if you like that sound and quality, definitely this is a basic way for me to share our gear, is to give you an actual product, right? So our product is our podcast, and in order to create that sound, we use these mics, and we also used our Tascam Mixcast 4 board. All right, so now we're gonna go into, let's say, maybe the arm stand. So this is the Tascam TM-AM2. I'm gonna take this down. I'll put this over here. Cool. Thank you, Nelson. Nelson says congrats on the new podcast. Really appreciate you. Again, if you haven't yet, please follow Messy Sexy Me on Instagram. When you listen to a podcast, we really appreciate it. We just launched today. We would love for you to share it. We're out on all platforms. At least today's our first day. So, having Messy in our name, we might be a little messy because this is our first time launching a podcast, doing a podcast ever. And, there's certain things like when you submit to Apple or when you submit to Spotify, it takes a vetting process that might be anywhere from 5 to 7 days. But luckily, we were able to get it on within like the hour. So if you're looking on where to find it, it's basically going to be available where all podcasts are available. If you want to learn more about the girls individually, we did launch a website at the same time called messysexyme.com. So make sure you check that out. All right, so now I'm gonna go and pair this with the Tascam TM AM2 that we got sent separately. So again, the Tascam Mixcast 4 bundle comes with the microphones, the headphones, and the board. Basically everything you need to start your very first podcast. Like this is great. It was really like Podcast for Dummies. I really, really love that. Thank you so much to the Amazon customer who started following me. I know it's like nameless because you maybe didn't log in and we can't see your name, but thank you so much for following. And if you're new here again, please hit that follow button, smash that start button. It lets other people know that this is I kept saying podcast. We launched a podcast today. It lets other people know that this live stream is worth watching. So please smash that start button throughout the show. All right, let's get into it. So we have the TM AM2, which is the adjustable microphone boom. And this is great. I already have one of these for my camera, my microphone. I have a boom mic that's literally right here, and how it is right there, it allows me to get the microphone exactly where I want it without having to take up space on my desk. So I love that. This is great for the podcast. So, you could use, any boom, but here's the thing. When you're sitting at a table, if you don't want to put this on the table, because sometimes, let's say you're banging on the table, it might pick up those sounds from the table, right? And you'd have to like get low if you are sitting on stools. So how you get the microphone right in front of your mouth or the height that you want it is getting one of these babies, the TM AM2 adjustable microphone boom. So as you can see by the picture, it looks like that. This is where you would clamp it to a table, and there is a width, right? So if you have a very, very thick table like we did, we couldn't utilize this base for a table because Quincy had a very thick wooden table. So what we did is we had a bench and we attached it to the bench instead. So we had to do a little finagling the first time we recorded, but it works on most standard tables. Like it would work on my standing desk that I have right now, but just keep in mind that when you do get these table mounts, it does have a certain amount of width. So just make sure you measure it. But I do believe it was like 3 inches. So that means my girl's table was thicker than 3 inches. So yeah, we're gonna open this. And again, when you have this table arm instead, you don't need this little tripod stand. So you have options. This tripod comes with the mic already, so you already have like a basic and standard tripod. But shout out again to my friends over at Tascam for literally sponsoring us the gear before we even had a product. And that means so much to me when I'm working with partners and I'm creating these long-term relationships. It's like I really do appreciate that I get to work with companies who are genuinely invested in the products that are being made with their products. So I'm just grateful that without even hearing our podcast or knowing what we were about, that my former relationship with Tascam still was very, very strong, and they were so willing, beyond willing, to hook us up and sponsor our podcasting gear. So I just wanted to say a huge thank you to Tascam, because this podcast would really not be possible without the gear. Aww. Richard is letting folks know how to do it. Click the plus follow button and join the chat. You're amazing, Richard. Yes, if you want to join the chat, which is always so fun because I always see some of the same amazing people in the chat just communicating with each other, just saying, hello, how's it going? Saw you last week, saw you're live. It really is a beautiful, positive, and welcoming community here. So if you haven't logged in, or follow this live stream. I go live every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time to talk about technology that will help better your life, or gear that would help you launch your next project, which very well may be a podcast. So please do follow me, so it notifies you every time I do go live, in case you forget that I go live every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. All right, let's open this bitty. Okay, we have this one. All right. Woo! Here we go. So we have the Tascam arm. And then what's this? Oh, this sounds like the little table stand. So I'm just gonna put this in here, and the only thing left in here is a manual. So I'm just gonna leave that there. Pardon my mess back there. But all right, so we're gonna open this right here. All right, so this is the way you can affix this boom arm handle, as I like to call it, to your table. So just so we can see it here, this is what it looks like. Let me cover my face so it doesn't try to like focus in on me, but this. So this is a Tascam, right? This is as thick as your table can be. So I'll show you. So when you do this, you obviously can loosen it. I'm like, can anybody do this like really fast? I like to have like games with myself, like how fast can I like practice doing this, right? So obviously this helps you with the traction of this, because if you didn't have it, I mean, I guess you can do that. I guess you can do that. You can do that too. To me, that's faster. But when you put it on the table, it's really great to have that force to be able to really tighten it to the table. What I also recommend, even though there is a foam pad under here which protects the surface of your table, sometimes I like getting a little piece of foam board, you know, I'll cut something like this just so it doesn't scratch the bottom of the table. Like, for those of you who don't really care about the bottom table, like, it won't be a concern, but I really do like keeping everything pristine when it comes to gear in my house. So I would recommend getting like a foam board, or like a little piece of cardboard even, or like one of these foam things. That's way it not only protects the top of the surface, which there already is a built-in foam pad, this, you know, circle disc would not be drilling into the bottom of your desk. So I would recommend that for any table gear. So if you've been worried about, oh, I wanted to get one but I don't want to ruin my table, that's a little solution that you don't have to spend money on. Just put like a little piece of cardboard in here, and then when you're able to go underneath the table, and your table is like, let's say 1 inch thick, it will be locked, secure, and it won't damage the surface or underneath your table. So little fun facto about that. Alrighty. Okay, so Steven says he can't hear me. Can you all hear me? If you can't hear me, maybe you might be on mute, or just let me know if you can or cannot hear me, because that is concerning if you can't hear me. You can hear me? All right. I'm like, if you can hear me, type yes in the chat. Okay, cool. So I have this, all right? And now we're gonna open this arm so I can show you the world. Okay. Okay. All right, cool. Nikki says they can hear. So I don't know if that was a joke, Steven, okay? But just saying, like, that freaks me out when, like, audio doesn't work, because literally this whole episode is about quality podcast audio. So that would be a concern to me if you all couldn't hear me. I'm like, who's this girl talking about audio and she can't even get her audio open? So sometimes I do think about that, which is why it's like so scary sometimes to throw myself and put myself out there to talk about things, and I just hope that they work. But after doing it for a while, I get to, you know, share with you all my favorites. So you want to be careful, because after you do that, it'll spring out. So you just want to be able to not just open it and let it go. You just want to lightly pull it. Okay. So as you can see, this is the arm. This is the bottom where we would take off the current tripod bottom, and then we can add it to this part. Now this allows you to, if you want to go from above, to have it linger down this way, like such. Or you can have this, when you twist the handle, go upwards if you want to have it this way. So you have many options that are standard in terms of how you want to do it. So if you imagine it being on the side of the table, right, once you attach the stand head to this, you'll be able to move this around and it's pretty tight, so it's nice. So it won't move too much. So if I had it on the table and I moved it up here, I can put it exactly where I want it. That way I don't have to worry about like going low or high. It's literally right where it's supposed to be. So this really helps for my fellow podcasters. I have to say that now, I'm a fellow podcaster. I want to say that for my fellow podcasters, that these really do help because it gets it to be exactly where you want it. And sometimes, again, when you have your microphone on these kind of tripods on a desk and they echo like this desk does, you'll hear like a reverberation. And in order to get away from that, these are actually a really good solution. So these do not come in the bundle. You can purchase this separately. So these do not come in the bundle, but I will say thanks to Tascam, they sent it to us to add. So in order to connect these two, just so I'm putting these down very delicately because I don't want it to move. Okay, so as you can see here, there is, this little twisty thing. So we want to untwist it, which will allow us to put this base inside of it, right? So I'm pretty sure you know where I'm going with this, right? So there you go, locked and loaded. And now when it's here, this is, it's really hard demonstrating this because I should be putting this on a table. All right, cool. So now I have this, and you know what? Yeah, let me do that. I'm just gonna use this foam piece for now. I'm not gonna cut it, but obviously when you do it to your table, you wanna make it nice. I'm just gonna put it in between here. Boop, 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 boop. Alrighty. Alrighty. Oh. Yeah, can you hear the sound it's making? How much time do I have? Okay, good. I'm still good on time. Because I go live every week on Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and I want to talk about as much gear as I possibly can. Okay, I wish I had an assistant over here. All right, cool. So what I do if I'm one person, as I'm discovering now, is you want to get as close to where the table is as possible, because I was putting the foam like when it was loose, and obviously as I'm going with one hand, it just falls to the floor. So you want to get it as close to where it needs to be as possible. That way you're not fishing for it on the floor, and then you're ready to, go. So I'm just gonna plug this in. Again, I'm using the bottom of that base to really lock it in place. Wow, and would you know it, I just rhymed and was a poet. I did it again, you guys. Yeah, this is great. I was turning the wrong way. Again, I took woodshop class and it was always lefty loosey, righty tighty, but who decides to go backwards today? I did, I did, so that's my mistake. It should have been on by now, just letting you know. This is a user error, which is me. This is not an error of the Tascam. All right, so I'm almost there because I can feel the resistance. And we talk about resistance in our podcast too, so you want to be able to tune in on that too. So this is where the very extra end of that, all right, there it goes. All right, cool. So now that I got it in place, it's standing on its own, right? And I can move this right as such. So now I can attach the microphone here. Oh, let me see if I can get it like right there. So you see that? Okay, cool. So now I'm going to take off the base of the tripod that comes with a specific mic that we have. Do-do-do. Do-do-do-do. Whoop, whoop, whoop. All right, so we'll do this. And because we don't want to keep swirling it around and around, I'll just take off the XLR cable first. All right, cool. So now we're just gonna like screw this in, right? Alrighty. Oh man. This might be hard to do it the way that I'm doing it. I should probably go the other way, but okay. Well, I would say you get the drift. But anyway, so this would go here, and again, you could be able to adjust it, and then you'll be able to basically put the microphone perfectly where it needs to be when you're speaking. So you don't have to worry about yelling into it. You should never, first of all, yell into your podcast unless you have an angry podcast. Also, for a tip for those of you who are really getting into ASMR or like those audio sensory kind of recordings, that would be where you get really close to the microphone, but you want to lower the audio gain so you're not like popping your P's. Although I did learn that if you did record and you did pop, I've taken watched some many interesting YouTube tutorials on how to fix those explosives. I was like, it's called explosives, like explosives, but plosives. So when you say like popcorn Peter and it has that like blow of air, you can actually fix that in post using Audacity. You highlight the section. For those of you who have Audacity specifically, you highlight the section and then you click generate in terms of the effects and you hit fade out. And then if it's still doing it, you press Command R to repeat that, and then it takes off the plosives. So I'm learning all these things, right? Because I'm like, how do you do this? I literally had to do everything, and I really, really thank YouTube for a lot of the tutorials. I'm gonna put this back here as well because I'm done with this one. Because I definitely want to get to the one last piece of gear that was sent to us for our podcast to really make this podcast work before my live stream ends today. So I'm just gonna move this here. Okay, and here's another thing too. So the headphones that come with the bundle are not the same as the ones that Tascam sent us. However, if you already have headphones, you can use those as well. They do give you adapters because the back of the Mixcast 4 takes a 1/4 inch input, but you can also put adapter into it if you have like a 3.5 millimeter headphone jack. So that is what I like as well. Okay, so they didn't send us the headphones that normally come with the bundle, but what they did send us was the Tascam TH05 headphones. So these specifically, and this is the last item that really ties the entire Mixcast 4 Tascam podcasting setup that we have for our podcast. So we're gonna just open these so I can show you what it looks like. Alrighty, so I have this, TH05. Again, if you're new here, if you're watching this on Amazon, which is the preferred way of watching this stream, all the links, all the products I'm talking about will be listed below when you're watching on a mobile phone, and on the left side if you're watching on a big screen. Put me on your giant TV, honey. Put me on the big screen where we belong. And then if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, join me on Amazon as well because I really like the chat that goes on. Everybody's really, really cool in the chat. And if you're new here and you're just tuning in and watching, we just launched our first podcast ever. And I'm just going over all the gear we use specifically to make our episodes work and sound the way it sounds. Obviously, you can fix some things in post, but why would you if you can record it correctly and properly the first time? So I really do like the Mixcast 4 because it really is foul-proof. Like, you can see the audio monitors. Once you get used to it, I even got to play around with the sound effects because I do like the little beep that sensors, and I do like the air horn that goes brr, 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 brr. I mean, I press that button quite a bit, but I try not to for the sake of our podcast and for our listeners' ears. Speaking of which, I know when I'm being really, really loud because during the podcast, you have these Tascam headphones that really allow you to monitor the audio of the actual podcast that is being heard. And it's very, very good. And then also in post, if for any reason you hear like a low hum, you can fix that in post too, because you can set your decibel rate and range in order to do that. Okay, so first of all, this headphone actually comes with its own Tascam pouch, which is really nice. It's very soft. Feels like a nice little pleather bag. And it's a drawstring bag. So I love that you can protect it. So what the girls and I do right now, as of now, before I got my label maker machine, we used a gold Sharpie to write our names on it. Because again, when you're podcasting, it's really nice to just keep your headphone to yourself. It's like basically minimizes the amount of sweat or bacteria or germs that are going from one girl to another. So you want to be able to have your own set of headphones. And if you already have your own set of headphones, totally fine. But the headphone does come with an adapter, so you do have a 1/4-inch headphone jack. So this is not your standard size, right? You're so used to seeing like the smaller ones. Let me see. Yep, here you go. I just wanted to check before I showed you. So it comes like this. This is actually the size it needs to go in the back of the Mixcast 4. These are quality professional headphones, right? However, if you want to use these for other things outside of, you know, podcasting or professional audio gear, you can totally do that. If you twist off this end, it actually has your standard 3.5mm headphone jack. So now you can put this in your laptop or the side of your computer. So you do have multiple purposes. So if you just want to get headphones and you're not into podcasting, but you want to be able, or a musician, and you have the professional 1/4-inch like headphone inputs, you get both. So I really like these headphones just for the sake that it gives you the option to have a professional monitoring of sound, or also if you want to just be able to edit like I do, because again, I like the plug-in headphone mics because when you're editing, it really reduces the latency. Sometimes when I'm on my wireless earbuds, you know, as there's always a delay, you know, when you're editing TikTok videos or Instagram videos, there's always a delay if you're like listening to it wirelessly. So that's why I love being able to plug the headphones directly into a mixing board. That way it reduces the latency to make sure that the audio really does match the lips and the words, right? But for podcasting, you don't really have a visual form. Although I will say eventually the girls and I are gonna have a visual form because we think it's just funny. And plus, like, all my ladies friends are like super beautiful. So it's really cool to just have beyond just the audio, but also a visual, just so you know who we are and how we're sharing our stories and sharing hopefully words of inspiration and encouragement, and just sharing our stories with you. I hope you find relatability in that, and that if we can overcome certain obstacles, you definitely can too. But yeah, and this is the headphones. It comes packaged, so these are protected. So you just pull these off. Here we go. Okay, and then, you know, this is like wrapped here too, so I would just snip and cut. But yeah, let's put these on. And these are adjustable as well, so I'll be able to pull these off. The one thing I will say, like, beforehand, I did get a pair of Tascam headphones before, and unfortunately they didn't fit my head because my head, I guess, is too small. And these are made for, I guess, larger headed people. But these, the new ones, the Tascam TH05 ones, not only are these comfortable, and again, when you're podcasting, why wouldn't you use these headphones? Well, because for long periods of times when it's stuck in your ear, it really starts hurting the inner part of your ear. So anytime I'm doing long periods of editing or long periods of talking and listening or any monitoring, you want to be able to have something that goes over your ear that's soft, like pillows against your ear. It will help you in the long run. It won't hurt as much. I can't say 100% won't hurt because that's not what it's meant for, but like this is literally super soft. It goes over the ear as such with the headphone. Only. This is the Tascam TH05, and again, it's a long cord, which I really like this about Tascam because sometimes when you have short cords, it doesn't allow me to like hoist it over there and like be able to monitor the audio for this camera, for instance, if I'm on site or you know, recording an interview. But this is great for recording interviews because, again, if you want to share headphones with somebody who is monitoring the audio that is, you know, that you're recording, and you don't want to share these earbuds that go inside of everybody's ear. I mean, obviously get a little alcohol swab. You might want to do that to this too, but this is a little bit more sanitary than earbuds. So I really like the fact that I can utilize this, twist off the 1/4-inch connector, plug it straight into my DSLR, mirrorless, MacBook Pro or laptop PC. But then if I want to go straight to podcasting, I can switch this back on, and then I have a professional level of monitoring my podcast, because this is the input for the back of the Tascam Mixcast 4. So you have very professional XLR cables, you have the 1/4 inch for the headphones, and not only am I using this to monitor the podcasting, but it's super comfortable when you have to monitor how you sound for long periods of times. But oh my gosh, that is our time for today's show. I'm gonna keep this up here. Hello, Alfredo. Nice to see you. Thank you. There is an Iraq. It's spelled ERACK. I'm assuming it's maybe pronounced Eric, but thank you to everybody who is tuning in from Facebook, YouTube. If you're on Amazon Live, which is my preferred way of sharing this podcast. I mean, I keep saying podcast because I just launched a podcast today. So but this is the preferred way of watching the Amazon live stream, just because everything that I talk about is listed below. And don't worry, if you are, oh my gosh, thank you, Richard. He dropped the link in the chat. So if you're interested in any of the gear that I talked about today, maybe you missed the show, I always have, as Richard so lovingly put in the chat, my handle, which is my storefront. You can find it underneath my name. It says View Storefront. But I do have lists. So if you're looking for podcast gear, I literally have a list on my Amazon page that says podcast gear. So everything that I talked about today, to do that, you can come back and do that. And I would definitely encourage you all as well, because as we just launched a podcast at 6 p.m. today, I would love for you to tune in. We're going to be launching an episode every Tuesday at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, right before I go live on Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And then here again is where you can find our podcast. Please follow us on Messy Sexy Me on Instagram. The link to our podcast episodes, especially the first episode, which is our introduction, and our first meaty episode, which is episode 2, is located in the links on Instagram, also on messysexyme.com. But thank you so much for tuning in. Shout out again to everybody who's listening. Vlad said, great show, time to listen to the podcast. Thank you so much, fam. I appreciate you for tuning into the podcast. Nikki says, thanks for the stream. Gwen says, thanks, later. And Richard says, see you later, Messy Sexy Me. And I will see you all next Tuesday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And while I'm away, I hope you listen to our new podcast. Thank you so much. I'll see you next Tuesday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.